Once again, it's time for me to answer every single one of your questions. It's time for an Ask Wrestle Juice. Let's go ahead and dive into it. First up, I think this is the most thumbs up-ed question we've had. Jason Sear White says, have you ever had a don't meet your heroes moment with a wrestler? I'm sad to say no. Every single experience I've had with wrestlers that I can think of have been incredibly positive. They're all incredibly polite. Obviously, the majority of those have been under kind of press, WWE PR, WWE press type situations. Obviously, Larson and I were, sent out to like interview wrestlers, and they've all been amazing. There was one incident, there was one wrestler who was like kind of very politely dismissive when I went to go ask for an interview, but they were very polite about it. And so I'm not going to hold that against them, and no, I'm not going to say who it was, but everybody else has been incredibly nice. Very positive interactions with AJ Styles, Mercedes Moné back when she was Sasha Banks. Adam Cole, an absolute, just such a charming guy. And then even when Larson and I went to Starcast, I don't know why I pronounced it weird, 2 years in a row back in the day, like in 2018, 2019, something like that. 2019, whatever it was. We went twice. I think it was 2019 and 2020 didn't make any sense. In any event, we went twice. And both those times, we did the actual convention floor. Like we had a table on the convention floor, and man, everybody incredibly polite. Like we saw, we rolled it. This is kind of a lore story now in the Going in Raw lore, but Damian Priest, Punishment Martinez, we offered him a donut. He very politely declined after some hemming and hawing. Shortly after that, he got a WWE contract, so worked out for him not taking the donut. Joey Janela was really nice. Chelsea Green sat next to us at a table, and she is like the most charming person you'd ever meet. Incredibly cool, very nice. We're a couple of dorks over here, and so she had no reason to be nice to us, but she was like super cool. Trent, Chuck Taylor, both nice, really nice. We got guys. Everybody's been really, really cool. Haven't had a negative experience with anybody. So no, so far, so good. Tony says, what makes you put The Wrestler as the best wrestling movie over The Iron Claw? Ooh. All right. How much time do I have? The Iron Claw is a really wonderfully made movie. It looks good. It feels heavy. I feel like from a production standpoint, it's really good. For my money, and I know I'm going to get pushback on this because y'all love the Iron Claw, the script is sorely lacking. I feel like, number one, they did, and I don't know why. Well, I do know why. It's because Kevin had like the consultant role on the movie and probably had like say so over what script is used. They play fuddy-duddy with the title. Oh, you're going to win the world titles. They sort of dance a little bit between like the real and fake. And I couldn't stand that. I know enough of, part of it is maybe just my own bias. Like I know enough about the Von Erich story to know what they cut out, what was missing. I feel like it would have been better as like a 12 episode HBO series or Max series or whatever, because there's a lot there. And then for my money, there was not the emotional heft and exploration that there needed to be beyond, boy, this really sucks. Like a lot of this really sucks. I feel like it needed more of an anchor to carry the emotional weight of that movie from a story perspective. We all know that what happened to them was tragic, but when you're making a movie about it, you need like a proper narrative story arc that you could either take some liberties with creatively. The only thing they took creative liberties with in the movie was, number one, like the whole world title situation. And I just think there's so much more interesting stuff about their story than what was presented in the movie. And to me, it just felt, I don't know, like, hey, a bunch of really shitty things happened. Yeah, it's sad. And there wasn't a deeper exploration than that. I just think that there were too many things sort of left. Let's be honest, the Von Erich story is a really, really heavy one that had a lot of shit going on. And they couldn't possibly fit all that stuff in because, like, nobody would fucking believe that all that, like, Jesus, another one? Like, they left out a whole kid. So I feel like there was just stuff that was left out. But more than that, the bigger issue is simply, I feel like there could have been a deeper exploration with their story that would have resonated on a deeper emotional level. Having known everything that they went through, just witnessing it on the screen isn't enough. That last shot of Kevin Von Erich looking at his kids, getting the childhood that he didn't get. Yes, it's a moment, but it's also a very surface level one. And that was my main problem with it. They didn't do anything that really resonated as a movie with their story. It felt more like a really, really well-made Wikipedia entry of the Von Erichs. Add to that, I forget his name, is the dude from The Bear, Jeremy something. He, like, Carrie, like, that's the other problem. This sort of being supervised by Kevin is Kevin was the main character. And if you look at the Von Erichs, it's like, yeah, that could have been interesting, but like, Carrie was the man. Carrie's the guy who went to WWF. Carrie's the guy who was the imposing one, the larger than life one. There was a reason he went to WWF and won the Intercontinental Championship. And he was like small in this movie. Like, he wasn't that. Like, they got Zac Efron. Zac Efron probably should have played Carrie because Zac Efron is the guy who looks like he has it. So I had a variety of problems with it, to be honest with you. The Wrestler is the most accurate portrayal of how fucked up wrestling can be. And it's unflinching. It is brutal. It is like, man, this hurts to watch. He's got like the fucking surgery scar and he's still going to go wrestle. Like, you're watching this guy and you're just like on pins and needles. Like, this guy's going to fall apart. He's going to die at any moment. And then he goes out and he has his last match and it looks like Randy the Ram does in fact kick it in the ring, but we don't know. It's left to, the ambiguity there is the thing. But it also has, because it's a fictionalized story, it also is allowed to tell a really weighty emotional story with the Randy the Ram and his daughter. And it's just, they don't fuck around with the reality of pro wrestling. And the Iron Claw does. And that's what kind of bothers me, is that the Iron Claw had an opportunity to keep shit real and they kind of didn't. And the Wrestler just feels more authentic, which is ironic because it's a fictional story and the Von Erichs is not. So that's why I think the Wrestler is better, because that shit really tells it like it is. And I feel like the Von Erichs one didn't. So that's my personal opinion on it. Mr. JV6ZQ says, with Jamie Hayter throwing out the challenge on Collision, what do you think about AEW having a women's blood and guts match? I say do it. I don't even have to read the rest of your question. I say do it. Callum Shannon says, how would Bart Gunn's career be different if he actually somehow knocked out Butterbean at Mania 15? Great question. So he went on to do like cool shit in Japan, apparently, back when I was not watching Japan, because it was like, I don't know, a really long time ago. But, I feel like long term, I don't know, maybe it would have been his Austin 316 moment. I still feel like Bart, and to a degree Billy, didn't have like a ton of that like camera charisma that you really need, but sometimes it takes a thing to unlock it. So it's really difficult to tell. You know, for all you know, Vince would have gone full bore with him and he would have unlocked some sort of promo that would have really put him over the top. I suspect he probably would have had like a decent mid-card run, maybe a Steve Blackman type situation, perhaps. Probably would have transitioned to some comedy crap like Blackman did as well. Hipster Chandler says, can I use my phone while I'm grounded? That's the problem these days with grounding kids. You know, they got phones and you're like, hey, you can't use your phone. What are they supposed to do? Just sit there and stew? That's horrible. I mean, these days, honestly, it's like, yeah, with kids, it's like kind of an inverse. It's like, okay, you're grounded from your phone, but you have to go outside and play, which my kid loves to go outside and play. So she'd rather be doing that than being on her phone. DJ Luke D says, you just won the Royal Rumble. Nice. Not taking into account the champion. Which title do you pick? Oh, it's the Cody title. It's the Cody title. The main red coat. The man in the red coat. Joe Hendry is unironically my favorite thing in wrestling. Can you see him as a main event player in WWE? I think he's got the ingredients. I have no idea if Triple H would see that in him enough to push him to the main event. But I think he's got the ingredients, sure. He's got the charisma, he's got the crowd behind him. I think his in-ring is probably good enough. The Shocking LP says, if you could make a holiday for pro wrestling, what day of the year would you pick? I don't know. I would take WrestleMania the hell out of Easter, though. What the hell? As a family guy, that's really difficult. Nick says, during a retirement tour, do you prefer revisiting old rivalries or fresh dream matchups? Fresh dream matchups. Luisa Reza says, what is currently on your list of shows you need to start watching? So we need to finish Peacemaker. We're doing it's a rewatch for me, but a first time watch for Lacey, and it's The Wire. And then there's that new Jason Bateman show on Netflix called like something Bunny. I forget what, Black Rabbit. Is that what it's called? I don't know what it's fucking called. And then there's one on Max called like, it's got Mark Ruffalo in it, called like Task or something. I'm probably getting all these names wrong. The Bateman one, he has a beard. I couldn't get through Ozark. It gave me too much anxiety. I feel like this is probably going to do the same. And then, yeah, there's like a lot out there, though. There's a lot out there. But those are the two that sort of come to mind. I have to finish Andor, too, which sucks because I canceled Disney+. John DP says, with a little bit of optimism and realism, what do you think would have been Velveteen Dream's ceiling? Boy. So, optimism in terms of if he was locked in. See, it's kind of a double-edged sword thing, right? Because I feel like the nature of the human, the nature of the person probably got him to where he was, but also the nature of who he is probably landed him out of the WWE as well, if that makes sense. You know, it's like he wouldn't have gotten to where he was if he wasn't the person he was, and that naturally led to his downfall. You know, it's like it's the thing that makes you successful can also lead to your failure. So I don't know that he ever would have really succeeded because, you know, you can't manufacture that. So I don't know. If he was able to lock in, keep his nose clean, whatever the situation was, because there was a lot going on there. And I don't want to say, oh, it was this, because it's been a while since I've looked at all that. But if he was, an upstanding citizen backstage and in life and all that, then the ceiling is huge. It's massively high. Massively high. The Undead S'more says, who should Ricky Saint's first main roster feud be with? Well, it's a little premature, isn't it? He just won that title. I love that match, by the way. He just kept on dumping Obafemi on his head. That was great. Just a shit ton of DDTs gets the job done. I love that. That was awesome. His first main roster feud should be... Oh, man, I don't know. You turn him bad and have him feud with Sami Zayn over the U.S. title if Sami still has it. TBP says, what intangible elements do you think have led to the longevity of you and Larson's friendship? All right. I would say that we are two people who share very similar values. The values that are kind of required to have that type of friendship. And I feel like it's because we had similar strong male role models in our dads, in our fathers. His dad's an awesome guy, just a really, really great guy. And mine what it was as well. And I feel like we had similar like upbringings to a degree. And so that kind of, led us to become very similar people in certain ways. We're very different in certain ways that I think actually sort of complements us, each other. But in very important ways, we have very similar values. So I think that's kind of the main thing about it. Ryan K. Lamb says you're tasked with creating a new menu item for the Barstow Del Taco, which will have the Wrestle Juice or Steve and Larson branding on it. What are you creating? Well, Larson and I are both huge fans of the California burrito, and we're both huge fans of the soft grilled chicken taco. So I say combine those things and sort of make a California burrito that also has elements of the soft grilled chicken taco and whatever sauce they put in that. The sauce is what makes it. Christian says, has there ever been a moment in wrestling that has made you cry or moved you in a way? Probably I remember I've never wept. I've never like cried, but, damn it. There was obviously some of the memorial, like Brody Lee's memorial was kind of a big deal. But I don't think I cried there. I've never cried. But yeah, I've been emotionally moved by wrestling before. Broken Novocaine. I saw James from Cow Chop wearing a Going in Raw shirt recently. He still has that thing. That's cool. It reminded me of how I originally discovered you guys. Would you consider doing more collaborations with other wrestling YouTubers? If the opportunity sort of land, we're not really good at like getting out there and networking. It's not really our thing. So, I don't know if, the opportunity just sort of came to us. Hey, got this idea. You want to film it this day and do this thing? Yeah, we'd always consider it, sure. We don't really make the first move, though. Checkmate 9 Moves says, what wrestling gimmick style match would work best in MMA? Money in the Bank. Oh, Money in the Bank in MMA would be killer. That. But I also, tag team or fatal 4-way. But no, give me the Money in the Bank. I think that's amazing in real fighting. Belligerent says if Brett never got as severely injured as he did in WCW and made a similar recovery and return in WWE like Shawn did in 2002, well, who do you think could have been some of the logical opponents? I think we actually did like a wrestling what if on this a long time ago. And the idea of Brett, Triple H, and HBK having their own end of an era style thing, I think would have been really interesting. I think that could have been kind of cool. You take out The Undertaker and you put in Bret Hart. I think there's some cool stories that you could have told there. Rented Gallo says, how often am I supposed to change the oil in my car? These days with synthetic oils, they can go a lot longer than they used to be. It used to be like 3,000 miles and you're supposed to change that shit. These days, it's a lot longer, but you got to consult your auto mechanic with your specific type of car and the kind of synthetic oil you're going to use. So this is not the place to ask that question. Cuban Bear says, what's a go-to snack at a wrestling show? Nachos or popcorn? Catch says, who will be the one to take the U.S. title from Sammy? I don't know that I don't think they even know that right now. I don't think they know that. It's entirely possible it's going to be Obafemi, but I think it's too soon for that. Canaldo says, would you wrestle Larson for charity? $50,000. Minimum 15 minutes and no, you can't squash Larson. Pfft, can't squash Larson. No, of course not. Dire Homer says, snap, crackle, or pop. Who would be the best wrestler? Fuck, I don't know the difference between the two dudes, or the three dudes. Snap. I say Snap, just based off the name alone. It's Snap. Alex Big Blue says, what's your favorite rock band that started in the 2000s? Started in the 2000s. Oh, man. Favorite rock band I know there should be, all the ones that I'm thinking of, became popular in the 2000s, but they started probably, well below, before then. For example, Interpol. I was always a big fan of the Interpol's first 3 albums were really good, but they were formed in 1997. That doesn't really count. Boy, they came up quick then. Gee willikers. Yeah, dude, I don't know. These days I'm listening to a bunch of stuff that's kind of like on the older side, but a rock band that started in the 2000s. I know there's something like obvious that I'm missing here. What about, how about this? Let me see when they started. Okay, so there's shit. I don't even know if they started then. Let's see. What about the Vaccines? Here we go. The Vaccines. It's an English indie band formed in 2010. Really good shit. Seven Nation Nick says, I really enjoyed your 2K videos, especially that WrestleMania one. Yeah, that was a fun one to do. And of course, all the ones from Going in Raw. Would you ever consider making more? Yeah, I've thought about it. I've thought about doing like a weekly stream here at WrestleJuice where I do like some silly ass, 2K E-Fed stuff. I just don't have the time. I don't have the time, man. I got the podcast. I got this channel. I'm trying to do the comic book stuff. Now I've got it in my head that there's another kind of type of YouTube channel that I want to start. I'm not going to go into details about it, but I'm trying to do the comic book thing. I got this. I got that. I don't have any time. And plus I got like kids and everything. So I don't have the time for it. But yeah, I'd like to, but I just don't have the time. OJ says, which comic book based characters would make the best pro wrestlers and which one would make the worst? Tony Stark would probably be the worst because like he's really smart and everything, but like he's got a bum ticker and he needs the suit to like do anything. Whereas Batman would be really good. Batman would be like the Brock Lesnar. Bane. Oh, Bane. Wasn't Bane like a luchador originally? Wasn't there like a version of Bane that was a luchador? Alter says, I remember the other week you said you really like Queens of the Stone Age or something along those lines. Yes, I do really like Queens of the Stone Age. Have you ever listened to Them Crooked Vultures? You get Josh Homme on vocals and guitar, Dave Grohl on drums, and John Paul Jones on bass and other instruments. I do remember listening to them when it first dropped. Yes. I would not remember dick about them right now, though. But I'm gonna look them up as I'm talking here. Vultures. My spelling on this thing is so horrible. But yeah, I remember them. And yeah, I like them. Okay, well, I can't spell vultures right now. Let's see here. Razvan says, should Bailey rent Orton's theme so she can use it, considering that she hears voices in her head? It would just be very confusing to the audience. SKR says, for the Survivor Series event, would you have a War Games match and a traditional Survivor match or just two of the same type? If it was me, I think the business says, you do War Games because that's the thing. But I always like I still maintain, I've said this before, I think Survivor Series should have a little bit of everything. Have a little bit of brand versus brand, have a little bit of the traditional, and have War Games also. Clever username. Who do you think is wrestling's version of Keanu Reeves? A wrestler who's just a nice, chill, down-to-earth person you'd love to see doing other stuff. Oh, it's Adam Cole. Edward Thorpe Brown says, you can choose two wrestlers to help you complete an eating challenge. Who are you picking? Two wrestlers to help you complete an eating challenge. Well, Otis is one of them. And I feel like Otis is one of them. Maybe El Grande Americano. It's John, what's up? Says, who would win in a fight to the death? Wesley Crusher or pre-Judgment Day Dom Mysterio? Well, Wesley Crusher would. He's like, the dude can manipulate space and time. Jason, the PPW sound guy. If you can have any kind of cake for your birthday, what would it be? German chocolate is my jam. That's my favorite. That's what I usually ask for. Lazo says, what's your favorite grunge unplugged album? It's either Alice in Chains or it's Nirvana's. I think Nirvana has more variety on it. But boy, that Alice in Chains one is really good. It's Nirvana though. Mr. Cardcon says, if you could sit for 1 hour and talk with either your favorite wrestler from any era or your all-time favorite band, which would you choose and why? Probably my favorite wrestler, because I can't really talk music that much. Like I love music, but like Larson's really musically inclined. Like he understands how to play stuff. And I feel like it'd probably make a lot of sense for me to understand that stuff before I were to interview somebody. Tax Scandal and the Buenos says, who do you think of first when you think of the undisputed titles on in WWE? It's Brock Lesnar. I was at a party not long ago, and some rando dude just showed up with that version of the undisputed title. And I leaned over to Lacey. I said, that's the Brock title. Like, she would fucking know what that means. And she was like, Brock. I was like, oh, Brock Lesnar made that title famous. BDO says, if you can create a wrestling game, what would it play like? My poor wife. Says, if I can create a wrestling game, what would it play like? Oh, man. Dude, probably like two WWE... like 13 or 14, whichever one had the custom story stuff that you could upload, and it was all hella out-of-pocket stuff. OC says, pretend that Roddy Piper didn't make his WWF debut until the summer of 88. Could he have gotten the Red Rooster gimmick over by portraying that character? Nope. No, it was terrible. That was awful. But Terry Taylor's kind of a... Anyway, so... Lindsay Harvey says, do you think Rusev's back tattoo goes all the way down to his hole? Lindsay, you can't say that kind of stuff here. Sophie Dopey says, what was your favorite John Cena feud in his 23 years in WWE? Probably the CM Punk one. Five Olding says, what do you think the ultimate payoff was going to be? For Mr. Brody Lee's Dark Order, would he have become AEW World Champion? I think there was definitely the potential there for him. The way he was going, the way they were portraying his character, there was the potential for him to rise up to that. Yeah. I don't know if that was ever in the plan. That was never in the plans. Eventually, I think he could have been. I don't know if he would have been, but boy, he was great. He was absolutely great. I don't think I think he probably, I don't know. Would the Dark Order still be around today? Like as a, main roster thing? Probably. Heel Elite says, do you think Obafemi and Javon Evans will do good on main roster or become afterthoughts like Carmelo Hayes? I think Javon Evans has a certain, like, genuine... Him and Sol Ruka, both, in my opinion, should be can't miss. Because, number one, did you notice on SmackDown when he gets in the ring, like on Friday... When he got in the ring, when he just like leapt over the top rope and he went so high and the crowd gasped at him getting in the ring. And on top of that, like the same thing with Sol Ruka, very creative. And they've just got the vibe. They got the aura, right? They got the thing that like you don't need because neither of them have like that promo. They don't have the mic skills that like a CM Punk has. But they don't need it. And there's almost a charm in that they don't have it. Kind of similar to RVD. He was so that they both so remind me of RVD in that they do really cool things. They've got that aura and it just translates. So I feel like you can't miss on that stuff. And then Obafemi's a big giant dude, with a great look, good in-ring. The accent still kind of is goofy to me. Like, it's just because it's not real. I know I've watched him in interviews before when he's talking normal. And so that's kind of goofy to me, but it's character. It's a character, right? It's fine. It's just, it makes me laugh. It makes me laugh that this poor dude's going to have to be stuck with that accent whenever he's in front of a camera until he goes Hollywood. Anyways, will they do? Yeah. I mean, I don't know what Triple H is doing, but I feel like if we're taking a look at all three dudes, and I get the subtext here because, Triple H has the knock on him that in terms of like, when's the last time we've had like a singles match with like, a black male wrestler in a singles match. So I understand why you're making the Carmelo comparison here. At least that's what I'm gathering. But it's not like you're saying, are they going to like Braun Breaker, who's like the last singles male call up, either him or Ilya or whatever. But yeah, I feel like there can't miss. I feel like Javon and Oba both had, and Trick all have higher ceilings. God damn. In my opinion, they got higher ceilings than, I think Javon and Trick have higher ceilings than Braun Breaker if utilized properly. Especially given like in 3 to 4 years, Javon Evans will probably take the Will Ospreay route and bulk up because he's not going to be able to do the high flying shit forever. I don't know I forget how old he is. He's obviously young. But like at a certain point, you just lose like how high you can fly. Although Montez hasn't, so I don't know. I don't know. I think they should be. If they're not, if they're treated like Carmelo, then Triple H needs to be fired. Legal Forearm Shot says Obafemi should debut on Raw or SmackDown. I would say SmackDown. Yeah, SmackDown. I think there's a couple reasons why he should be on SmackDown. River Turtle says, who do you think would win the Anoa'i Battle Royal, any promotion in their prime? I think like The Rock and Roman both like go over at the same time. The Massacre Film says, when, why, how did you first become a wrestling fan? It was 1997. I had graduated high school in summer of 96. I graduated high school. I started junior college and I started hanging out with my friend Jeff and his friends, which included Larson. Became friends with them, and Hilton was a wrestling fan, so they would always gather at Jeff's house on Mondays and watch wrestling. And so late 96, early 97, I guess it was, I started watching wrestling. And it was basically just a social thing. Sam Carrison says, if you could choose from any band alive or dead, who would you most like a new album from? Radiohead. Apparently Soundgarden's got one on the way, like from the last recordings of Chris Cornell. Honked Off John says, who's your Mount Rushmore of movie directors? He says Spielberg, Nolan, Apatow, and the Russo brothers. Okay. Oh, man, dude, this is hard. All right, so I would, boy, I would go with, I'm just going to maybe go, I mean, there's a little element of like how the proper Mount Rushmore is, but I would go with foundational for the modern movie. I'd go with Kubrick. I'd go with Spielberg. I would go with Spielberg. I'm sorry. I'd go with Kubrick, Spielberg, Scorsese, and Paul Thomas Anderson. And then if it was my personal Mount Rushmore, I would remove Spielberg, add the Coen brothers, and that's probably it. Art Guy says, now that Obafemi has lost the NXT title, who's his first feud on main roster? Dirty Dom. I think he's going to be on SmackDown, and it should be with have him destroy the MFTs. The Scott says, give one wrestler new ring attire. Who is it and what are they wearing now? One wrestler new ring attire. I would give Cody Rhodes. You know what I would do? Remember when Cody was fighting Brody Lee in AEW and he came back with the dark hair and he said it was a shout out to like, his whole vibe was like a shout out to like the death of Superman. How Superman came back with a black outfit. I would like retheme all of his Homelander stuff to like black and silver. That'd be cool. Kev says, what's one story from wrestling that hasn't been retold before that you would want to see adapted to a movie/limited series? One story from wrestling that hasn't been retold before? I don't quite understand the nature of your question, but I would love to see a movie about Bruno Sammartino. B. York says, should Triple H have a Mr. McMahon type character? No. God, no. Leave that in the past. He tried to do that before. It was terrible. Wicked, it was Authority promos, 20 minutes, opened every single Raw. Wicked Tex-Mex, what's a match that's universally loved or praised that you think is overrated? For example, Flair versus Steamboat. Oh, man, I don't know. I don't know. I feel like Hogan Andre is actually a pretty decent match for what it is. I'll tell you this. I think one that's like not as bad as like historically believed to be is Hogan Warrior 2. We watched that for the Halloween Havoc review over at Going in Raw, which if you don't know, I got a wrestling podcast called Going in Raw with my best friend Larson. And we did a Halloween Havoc 98 review. It's a bad match, but it's not as epically bad as everybody says it is. Mike Dodd says, who should AJ Styles' final opponent? Oh, I'm Brett versus Shawn Iron Man match, maybe. Who should be AJ Styles' final opponent? If they kickstart his career again, and they're doing stuff with him, but I just don't know where it's going or if they're going to pay it off properly, but it'd be Carmelo. Money 13 says, if you had to give a license theme to the Don Callis family, what would it be? Oh man, but the drone is so good. A license theme to the family. Oh, come on. It's the We Are Family. Heisenberg, Hurst, Helmsley. Do you prefer AEW? This is a great, look at his icon. It's Heisenberg, but it's Triple H. Do you prefer AEW having many pay-per-views a year like they do now, or just like 4 like years ago? Many! And I hate to say this. Full transparency. Well, number one, wrestling storylines are easier to tell on a monthly basis, like month to month, pay-per-view to pay-per-view. But also, it benefits me because it's more shit for me to talk about when I do the hot takes for pay-per-views and stuff. So, John Whetstone says, what are some good matches to recommend for 10-ish year old kids? Samoa Joe versus Necro Butcher, I think, is a good one for a 10-year-old kid. I'm so joking right now. I'm so joking. 10-year-old kids. I have a 10-year-old kid. And Brett versus Austin. Yeah, that's probably a good one. Ends with him passing out in a bloodbath, but sure, that's good. Sasha Banks versus Bianca Belair at WrestleMania from 38 or 37, whatever it is. Hamish Jarvis says, question time. Will the Hardy Boys win the NXT Tag Championships in a winner-take-all match? Certainly feels that way, doesn't it? Shotgun Sean, what was the biggest waste of time? The Cena heel turn run or MJF joining Hurt Syndicate plus Jeff Jarrett feud? Oh, it's that. Kushaliadav says, do you think that for once the Money in the Bank cash-in should be anywhere, anytime, like a WrestleMania press conference? Nah. You need the pop of the crowd. Atticus says, would you be too freaked out to use the transporter if you were in Starfleet? Yeah, I'd be Barclay levels. Barclay, I am very Barclay coded, I feel. I feel like I would have a big problem with the transporter. I'd be way too addicted to the holodeck. I'm not socially weird like he is, though. Stuttery and stuff. Not saying there's anything wrong with that. If you're socially awkward and you're stuttery, God bless you. You have a place in our society. I'm not really like that. So I'd be like a more suave, pulling version of Barclay. I'd be like if Riker was addicted to the holodeck and was freaked out by the transporter. But yeah, man. Yes. I mean, look, we all know that it's not actually you fucking die and then the clone of you shows up again. Like they have the technology in the future is such that they don't actually kill you. They just take your matter, turn it into energy, and then reconfigure it properly. So it's your matter that's being teleported. But still, it freaked me the fuck out, man. Do you know why? Because of Star Trek The Motion Picture, the first one. Because like Kirk was supposed to have a love interest in that movie. Well, he did to start things off, and then they turned into a blob of goo on the transporter pad. Asian Sign Guy says, who'd you like to see be added to the Hater Amanada versus Triangle of Madness teams for blood and guts? Oh boy. Well, you got to put probably Tony, because she's not the champion anymore. B-Man says, do you see anyone from NXT having a successful career? Mind you, I've not watched Collision yet. I plan to do that today. Do you see anyone from NXT having a successful career on main roster? Yeah. Oh, yeah. I just mentioned Oba and Javon being like can't miss. Jordan Grace going to do fine. Blake Monroe's going to do fine. Sol Ruka should be a fucking WrestleMania main eventer. Jeremy Scott. Wait, is that the question? Really? Do I see anyone from having a successful career? Yeah. Okay. Jeremy Scott says, you are now being cast in the reboot of any sitcom. Friends. Who is your remaining cast, fictional or real? Is it Friends or any sitcom? I'm going to say it is Home Improvement, but instead of being a guy with a home improvement show, it's going to be a wrestling podcast. My Wilson is going to be Hilton, so you'd only see him from here up. Al Borland, of course, is going to be Larson. Yeah, I mean, the parallels are, huge there. Jasper Jr., who would win in a fight, Mechagodzilla or Antonio Inoki? I mean, no offense to Inoki, but like Mechagodzilla, come on. Crooked Tooth, could Joe Hendry be John Cena's last opponent? God, I hope not. I love Joe Hendry. I think he's great. I feel like it needs to be a bit heftier of an opponent. I wouldn't mind him being an opponent of John Cena's, but I feel like John Cena's last actual opponent needs to be kind of a bigger deal. Now I'm still stewing on the them crooked vultures thing, and I'm trying to see like what song did they have? Like, because I know they had like that one song, the band's New Fang. I know I've heard this shit before. John Murphy, rather than CTE, is the next class action lawsuit gonna be for wrestlers who have had damaged ribs? I mean, I don't think damaged ribs has that great of an impact on the rest of your life. Ascent says, how would you book Dragunov for his return? Ilya Dragunov would, I don't know, fuck it, have him answer Sammy's open challenge and beat Sammy. Carlos Diaz, what would be a catchphrase that would actually, they're probably going to make him into it. Could you imagine if they made Ilya into another Americano? Carlos says, what would be a catchphrase that would actually suit Jacob Fatu? He would just use the word hella a lot because he's from here in Sacramento. Twisted Cookie says, if there's a match in wrestling history from the WWE, he'd like the beam. He would use the phrase like the beam. If there's a match in wrestling history from WWE, TNA, WCW, or ECW that everyone needs to watch, what match would that be and why? WWE, TNA, WCW. How about Booker T versus Buff Bagwell on Monday Night Raw? Choweezy says, similar as like, never do this, kids. Similar to SmackDown 6, who would be, how about the fucking Halloween Havoc? I can't get over how many times Rick Steiner got hit in the nuts at Halloween Havoc 98. Choweezy says, similar to the SmackDown 6, who would be your WWE 6 going in the next decade? It would be Javon, Trick, Dom, Braun Breaker. I'm just going with dudes right now. You could do 18 for the women. Well, we need 2 more, so I'll go with the women. Stephanie and Sol Ruka. There we go. But honestly, like, the SmackDown 6 would probably be all women because, goddamn, the WWE's women's division is stacked, loaded. It's only getting more stacked and loaded, too. NYC says, should SAG-AFTRA open up a pro wrestling wing in their guild? It wouldn't affect me in any way, shape, or form, so I don't know. No, probably not, because they're not union members. Amananzas says, is there any celebrity you would like to see take part in WWE? I got Jelly Roll. I'm eating good already. Keg of Meat says, what was the first wrestling DVD you owned? Mine was No Way Out. How the first? Probably. It was either like a best of DX or it's a best of the NWO. It's one of those. JQL Girl says, with it fairly clear that Joe Hendry is going to WWE in the near future, what do you see his trajectory, likely future in the Fed being? That's such a hard question. I kind of answered this before, but I find it difficult to believe that he would be like a legit main eventer. So probably like a solid mid-card guy. Gorilla Mon, how would you book the series finale? I think LA Knight is kind of his ceiling. How would you book the series finale of wrestling? It'd be the huge... Here's the thing. It's going to be a while before there is a series finale of wrestling, right? It's going to be a long time. So what you would do and by that time, AI forms of entertainment will be advanced and normalized, and maybe there's some legislation to ensure that the estates of dead actors are properly compensated to alleviate the ethical concerns of adding, having a crossover, let's say, between Doctor Who and Back to the Future. All right, I'm just throwing that out there because I know there's time travel involved in both. That being said, the series finale of wrestling has got to be a grand super show. The best of WWE, past, present, future. Well, no more future because of the series finale. So past and present, the best of New Japan, of AEW, all the best. It'd be like Hogan versus Steve Austin. It'd be like a grand super show. That's what it would be. Tom McClure says, why do people like LA Knight? I don't get it. If you don't get it, I can't explain it to you. Twisted Cookie YouTube says, do you remember? There's nothing I can say that's going to make you get it. Twisted Cookie says, do you remember the first wrestling event you went to in person? No. Yes. No? I forget. It's one of two. One of three. One of two? It was either the Nitro where Scott Steiner was the Nitro after, I want to say like Super Brawl 98, maybe? What is the, hold on a second. Super Brawl 1998. Is that the one where Big Papa Pump debuted and turned on his brother? Let's see here. Let's find out. I know it was the Nitro. Yeah, here it is. The Steiner brothers. I think it was Super Bowl 98. The Nitro after that might be the first thing I ever went to. But I also know I went to a Raw. I think I didn't go to Raw until 99 because Jericho would have been there. And then, but I also, at some point in 97 or 98, there was an indie show here in Sacramento where I think Abdullah the Butcher was on the card. And there was a wrestler named the Gigolo who also ended up, I think, in like TNA or something. So, let's see here. Next up. Brennan says, if you had a chance to go to a premium live event pay-per-view held outside the U.S., where would you ideally want to go? Edinburgh, because that's where my sister is moving, so I'd have a place to stay. Kramaw says, ever heard of the band Failure? I feel like they're in your wheelhouse. No, but I'll check them out. Jacob says, who's your favorite young AEW guy? Like the kind of guy who isn't over yet, but has the potential to be a big star. Like Griff Garrison. Wow. Okay. All right. Go Griff. Billy Starks. 91 Taker fan. While working for Machinima, did you ever get a chance to meet guys like Mr. Harch? Mr. Harch. You guys remember Mr. Harch? He was great. Mr. Sark, Hutch, and Scene Anners. Yes, I met them all. They were incredibly nice guys, really cool. In fact, I was just going through some old photos from 2013 from my old computer, and I was a picture of me and Scene Anners. I got a selfie with them. But yeah, they were all very, very nice people. Very cool to hang out with. The Farting Monkeys says, do you think WWE will ever look at Randy Orton as a WrestleMania main eventer ever again? I think it's possible. They could do Cody Orton for next Mania's main event. Death Shot Society, top 5 Soundgarden songs. Oh, you're putting me on the spot. All right, Born on the 4th of July is one of them. That's probably my top one. So Born on the 4th of July is one. Cannot connect. What the hell? What's your problem? Do connect. How about that? Let's see here. Go to Bad Motorfinger here. Face Pollution is one of them. Somewhere is one of them. Oh, Drawing Flies is a great one. I don't have these ranked though. The Day I Try to Live is awesome. So there's a bunch for you. And then the opening one for Down on the Upside. What's that one called? I forget. Here we go. No, don't play it. I don't want a fucking copyright strike. Whatever that one's called. Burden in My Head, is that the one? The Log Cabin says, what would you like the WWE to do with Tama Tonga and Tonga when they eventually make their return? Turn on Solo and feud with the other MFTs. Thrawn says, which women would you send to SmackDown to make the title scenes more interesting on that show? Unload NXT on SmackDown. Do that. Hoser's Swag says, what wrestler that hasn't acted in a movie yet do you think will be a great actor? A great actor or like a box office attraction? I think Rhea Ripley can be a box office attraction. A great actor? If Woods, I don't think Woods would go Hollywood, but I think Woods has what it takes to be a great actor. Stinky Bojangle says, favorite Rob Zombie movie? I don't have one. I always appreciated the guy was like, you know, he had definitely had a fan base for his movies. That being said, I don't think I've ever seen a single Rob Zombie movie. I've only seen like bits and pieces and clips here and there. And I'm like, wow, that's really cool. But it's also kind of not my thing. Zondo says, I'm glad AEW has women's tag belts. Who are a few teams that can make the division stand out and not just be whatever it is in WWE? Who are a few teams? Dude, Billy Starks and Athena. Athena needs to come to main roster like now. Get rid of that Ring of Honor stuff. Yeah, I mean, they've got a couple teams right now. They've got Statlander and Harley Cameron. What else? Jamie Hayter and Queen Aminata. Is that a thing? I got to turn on Collision after this. Fem Trapta, if you could book a crappy sponsorship match, what product would it be for and what wrestlers are in it? A crappy sponsorship match. What product would it be for? It'd be for Steven Larson's new California grilled chicken burrito from Del Taco. And all our favorite wrestlers are in it. It'd be only the top wrestlers. Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, Cody Rhodes, CM Punk. Surfing Pikachu says, which wrestler would you most like to have a sit-down hour-long interview with? Active or retired? What wrestler would I like to have a sit-down? You know, it would actually be kind of fun to have an interview with Seth Rollins. I feel like he'd be an interesting chat with. I wouldn't mind interviewing Brett. Brett would be cool too. You know, I wouldn't want to interview Goldberg. That guy's twitchy as fuck. Did you see him on Ariel Helwani a couple months ago? The Rump Roast. What do you think about if Cena versus Lesnar or WrestlePalooza, where Cena had different WWE superstars dressed up as attires? That's weird. Isaac says, will we ever see another gimmick like Kane or Undertaker? Oh, man. Are we stuck with normal people? I don't know. I feel like probably no. I don't think Triple H likes that shit, which is ironic, given his history with Undertaker. But then we've got the Wyatt Six, so maybe we would. Yeah, we will. The Wyatt Six is proof that we will. King's Catalog. If you could meet one wrestler living and one who has passed, who would you pick? One wrestler living, Brett. One who has passed, Bruno. DNC. What's the biggest pop you've experienced live? Seth Rollins cashed in at WrestleMania. The 2015 one. A Ninja. So it's the only one he's done at WrestleMania. What's the last movie or show you finished and thought, damn, that was fantastic? Severance? I saw Superman. I really like Superman. That was cool. Kyle Canyon says, what if Cena never found the jorts? Does he become the champ? Oh, yeah. No, it's good. Severance is good. If he never found the jorts. So if he never did the rapping thing, I don't know. I do not know. Trevor Flynn says, John Cena having no dates between Survivor Series and retirement match. Would you have someone attack him post-match at SummerSlam or Twitter announcement like AJ Styles? At this point, just Twitter announce a killer match. Or Triple H comes out and announces it. Tony the Pokemon. Or he does a little YouTube video. I don't know. Matt Mormon says, would you rather see Cena's last match be a great match against an established main eventer or a mid-match that helps a young up-and-comer? I want a great match regardless of who it is. Kevin Conrad says, is Ludwig's version of Americana one of the best characters to be taken over by another character? It might be the best. Bryce FRG, is there an aspect about wrestling that you hate but Larson loves and vice versa? I don't believe so. No, I don't think there is. Shaw Stank Redemption. Was Larson the best man at your wedding? No. He was in my wedding party along with Hilton, Lacey's good friend Hutch, one of my old high school friends, Scott. Was Scott in it? Yeah, Scott was in it. And then, but Big Jeff was he was my best man. Subeldu says, is that going in Raw title in the background just edited in? No, that's real. That's a real deal right there. I can touch it. You hear that? I'm touching it. No, that's a title given to me and Larson back in 2018 by a really awesome friendo who worked at like a 3D printing place. And I don't know the actual person's name, but the screen name was Penultimate Tommy Wiseau. Apparently he's a Room fan. And that's Big Red. And Larson had it in his room for years. And then I was like, hey, or he was like, one of us was like, hey, it'd be kind of cool if we actually put it on camera instead of just behind Larson. And so he gave it to me and I put it there. But it's an awesome bit of fan creation there. Brendan Duck says, do wrestling fans now compare every single storyline in wrestling to the epic saga that was the Bloodline? Yes, for good reason, because it set a new bar. PTS, what's the last WWE show you went to? I don't know. Was there a Raw? I don't honestly, I don't remember. Cyclone Jesus says, who would win in a tag team ladder match between Steve? Oh, it was a SmackDown. Me, Larson, and Dope went a couple years ago. Who would win in a tag team ladder match between Steve Larson and Wrestle Talk? Oh, Steve and Larson. Are you kidding me? Zoe Conrana, what's the most you've ever lost in a coin toss, friendo? It's thankfully not as much as some people in No Country for Old Men. Zorro says, should AEW have kept Orange and Kingston's returns as a prize? Yeah, they should have. Drew Bloom, did you finally watch Superman? What did you think about it? I loved it. I really, really enjoyed it. James Gunn he understands comic books. The thing that I liked about it so much also is that he is pulling material from the era of comic books that I grew up on to a large degree. Guy Gardner being in the movie and kind of a major point in the movie speaks to me, because 1987's Justice League, where Guy Gardner, that version was kind of introduced, or at least best written, is like my favorite comic book of all time. Do I have it over here? I have it over there on my drawing desk. No, I don't. What do I do with it? I don't know where it is. And it is, yeah. So no, I loved it. I thought it was great. I mean, there's only so many things you can do with like a first Superman movie. There's only so many ways you can approach it, but I love what James Gunn set up for the rest of the DCU. I loved it. I really did. I thought it was awesome. The Chop Sports and Gaming says, you think Obafemi should get the Brock Lesnar O2 treatment? I don't know. That's so tough to book, isn't it? Because like he's going to be there for a while. Alexander Ball says, what's the Mount Rushmore of American monuments? But you definitely want to give him like an undefeated streak. His first loss needs to mean a lot. Like the two guys he's lost to in NXT, Ricky Saints and Tony D. I don't know about all that. Alexander Ball, what's the Mount Rushmore of American monuments? The Lincoln Memorial. I'm just going to go with like 4 of the best American monuments. What is it, like Lincoln Memorial? I think Lincoln, it's like, to me, honestly, it's like 4 Lincoln Memorials. Because like Lincoln just sitting there in that big old chair, you know, that's pretty badass. X Blake says, what's the best dessert ever? Good fucking apple pie. God damn it. Mr. Biz says, do you think they will give AJ Styles a retirement run like Cena? No, I don't think it's going to be one match either, though. I think they'll make a deal of it. I don't think they're going to make a John Cena level deal about it, though. C4 says, if WWE and AEW both instituted off seasons, which months should they be and why? WWE should be in the fucking summertime, man, because fucking a whole lot of nothing happens in the summertime. Dark Dank says, what's your favorite book? And it can't be a comic book. I read normal books. My favorite book, though? Probably Catch-22. Although the actual novel of A Clockwork Orange is really fucking impressive. That dude straight up just made kind of like a language. It's nuts. But probably Catch-22. Probably Catch-22. What other books do I have? I mean, I don't want to go with something cheesy like Guy Evans' Nitro or something. But yeah, I'd say Catch-22. I kind of feel like that really speaks to me from a comedic standpoint. And it's also a really underrated movie, the 1970 version. John and Alistair Voice says, best comic book fight? Superman versus Doomsday. Animositis says, removing Cody and Andrade, who has been the best and worst AEW to WWE signing so far, considering long-term potential too. Removing Cody and Andrade, who's been the best and worst AEW to WWE signing so far. All right, so who have we had? We've had Ricky Saints. We've had CM Punk. CM Punk's been the most successful by far. Well, if you take out Cody and Andrade. The worst? Gotta think it might be Lexus King. But I know there's also obvious ones that I'm not thinking about. Stimmy Jimmy, you know, these questions work better if you don't test my memory. If you present them to me in like a ranking question, then that's probably better. Whenever you're like, hey, can you remember what wrestler did this, but most people think they did this? I'm like, honestly, I just have a shitty memory. I'm answering all these questions because I enjoy doing it, but you're just not going to get a very good answer out of me. I'm just being honest with you. Stimmy Jimmy says, what wrestler from NXT and AEW is the main roster most likely to fumble the ball with? From NXT, what wrestler from NXT is main and AEW? I feel like if Ricky Saints remains a good guy, main roster's not going to get it with him. Ricky Saints should be a bad guy. NXT, I think NXT is going to do well with Saul Ruka and Javon Evans. Who are they going to fumble, though? You'd think that Trick is also like main roster, like, you know, impervious to bad creative because like he's so good on the mic and he's got the look and his in-ring is good too. So I don't know. But if Ricky's not a good guy, and maybe Ethan Page. Planet Bumble, you're tasked with gathering the 5 greatest wrestlers currently living to defend our reality from erasure in a multiversal wrestling tournament. Who are your picks? All right, man. Like, if this is like a real deal, you got to go with, you know, I would do this. I'd go Ospreay. Just get some AEW love in there. Ospreay, and then you go all WWE. You go Cody, Rhea, probably Punk, and Cena. You probably put Brock in there too. Brock will he could probably handle one on his own. Marvell, favorite triple threat match? It's probably WrestleMania 20. It's probably that one. Kid Run Over, do you still keep in touch with Ricky and Elliot at all? Not like actively, but like if I text them or DM them, they'll respond. But and I watch their content on YouTube. They're fucking awesome. I love those guys so much. But like we don't actively keep in contact. I don't actively keep in contact with like anybody. Sounds like besides like Jeff and Hilton. CDTN player says, in your opinion, who's the most underrated wrestler right now? Fuck, I don't know, man. Who's underrated right now? I don't know. Kevin Knight, maybe? Overrated? Who's overrated right now? I don't know. I feel bad saying anybody's overrated. Chester Lerman, who's a newer filmmaker that interests you? You know who one movie from this dude that I saw. Oh, God damn it. Whose kid is he? Is it Cronenberg's kid? Doesn't Cronenberg have a kid? Filmmaker. One of them fucking big time horror director. Cronenberg's son. Yeah. Yes. Brandon Cronenberg. God, really? He had a movie come out in 2023? That's cool. Because Antiviral is really good. And I love his dad. Call Eagle says, do you think the NXT invasion will end the war with TNA or extend it? And if extend, do you think, oh no, it's going to keep it going. It's going to keep it going. Sniper says, favorite English meal? Give me the fish and chips. Pedro Mata, who do you think should be Cena's final opponent? Probably Drew. It should be Drew. Drew should beat him. Drew Diesel, do you always give constructive criticism in AEW and WWE without being outright negative? How do you balance that, especially when so many people who talk about wrestling just focus on the negative? Well, I appreciate you saying that. I'm not an overly negative person. And although I recognize and sometimes indulge in the activity of putting something negative in a thumbnail or title for views because it's my job, I try to temper that with my actual criticism. I try to. Some people take my shit too seriously. Like, some people think I'm really, really like hate NXT or something, and I don't. It's not my thing. I watched No Mercy. I thought it was really good, but like something about the presentation and kind of the majority of the characters in NXT just don't really do much for me. But there are some pieces there that I really, really love, and I'd love to see on main roster. But the presentation of NXT just isn't my thing. But I'm not like, I don't hate it or anything. It's not really my thing. So yeah, I'm just not that negative of a person, and I don't need to rely on that in order to get views. Fukujin Belt says, will you watch EO versus Mayu Iwatani? Maybe. Probably. Is that one going to be... Fuck, which one's going to be like on YouTube for free? Jay Thao says, with The Rock threatening a presidential campaign, is he now? Could this mean he is officially done with wrestling? Is he really? The Rock president. Has he said something about this? Dwayne Johnson okay, is he running for the presidential election? Oh, here we go. What did he say? He said, we'll see. All right. Oh, God. Can't be any worse than what we got. Dad McBeardface says favorite pizza toppings, and why is it chicken and pepperoni? Ooh, I like chicken. I'm not huge on chicken on pizza. Favorite pizza toppings is pepperoni, Canadian bacon, mushrooms, sausage. Those four. Hassan Mahi says, do you think WWE will buy the NWA? No, I don't. TJ Anderson, are you going to go see the new PTA movie? I am. I hope it's good. It looks good, but when he did Madcap with Inherent Vice, it didn't stick with me. It did not stick with me. I hope this is more along the lines of The Master, because God, I love The Master. Ano Yolo says, what's your favorite WWE and AEW match? Match oat? I don't know what that means. Of the year? So far? Of the year? I don't know. Favorite WWE match of the year? Fuck, I don't know. You're asking me for my memory stuff. Like, we're a couple months away from that. Probably AEW, probably Young Bucks versus Swerve and Ospreay. Might be my match of the year so far. WWE, I don't know, maybe a Gunther match? Or EO versus Rhea with the Naomi at the Evolution. Maybe. That might be my favorite WWE match. Do you think you can beat Larson in arm wrestling? Asked Toasty. Not these days. Basketball, blah, 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 says, how did Larson get so jacked? Weightlifting and eating a lot of protein. The Prangan said, are you watching Peacemaker? I am, but I'm rewatching season 1 because Lacey hasn't seen it yet, but then we got sidetracked by The Wire. Kinda numb. Do you think it's time for Triple H to turn heel? No. Geek X Pop. Do you think Rhea Ripley is arguably the biggest name in wrestling right now? Well, that's possible. The Mr. BRS. What is one match you thought would be awesome but was disappointing and vice versa? Oh, Jimmy versus Jay. Thought that was going to be great. One that I thought was going to be disappointing was great. Cena versus Cody too. Fatima Chandfai says, if NXT was considered one day to be a proper third brand equal to Raw and SmackDown with them having matches on the main roster premium live event, not necessarily having their own premium live events, which wrestlers would you pick as the face of the brand? For it to be a proper third brand, it'd have to be It would have to be you take some more established people from main roster, put them on NXT. But I've already mentioned endlessly. It's Javon and Soul. Dylan says, is wrestling better today than it was 25 years ago? Back in 2000? Yeah, it is. Go Birds. If you could add a woman to Los Americanos, who would you add? Ivy Nile. RYPW. What do you think WrestleMania 100 will look like? So that's in what, 58 years? 58 years from now will be the year, what is that? 2080 something or another. 2083, I think. Shit. The aforementioned AI Spectacular. Diabetic Man, pancakes or waffles? Waffles. DJ Como, how would you fix the situation with Truth's character? I don't know. Have him go back to Ron Killings again? DBC, how long do you think it will take ESPN to give WWE a show an A grade? I feel like they'll have when WWE puts on a show with like a bunch of good matches. Matic Marvel, is there a better friendship arc than Bashir and O'Brien? That is a good one. That is a really good one. That is a really good one. I'm going to say no. Justin D. Lou. Bashir and Garrick, maybe. What's the big deal with the backlash of Gail Kim because what she said wasn't even particularly egregious to me? A lot of people felt it was egregious. Daryl Weller says if Jacob Fatu versus Drew McIntyre getting added a crown jewel with what's on there so far, can you see it being premium live event of the year? If it's chock full of good matches, yeah. I mean, they all have the potential to be premium live event of the year. They all have that potential. But you got to perform. Leon Cooper. Steve, do you think it was too soon to put the men's NXT title on Ricky Saints because of the upcoming Invasion premium live event? Man, I don't know. I'm not huge on how Ricky Saints has been portrayed in NXT because I just feel like he's kind of generic good guy. I think that's the bigger issue for me. But I did appreciate the match. He just dumped dude on his head a bunch of times. Big Guy, what's the best and worst Quentin Tarantino films? Best one to me is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. His worst one, probably... you know what, man? I've heard all sorts of good things about it. But Hateful Eight. I got through like 15 minutes and I was like, this isn't really my jam. Maybe I'll go back and revisit it because I'm sure it's probably really good. So, that being said, his worst one, I mean, his most inconsequential one is probably Death Proof. Jay Photo says, what is the lore behind the BK chicken sandwich on Going in Raw? Oh, man, I just love the BK chicken sandwich. It's hella good. Ashtray says, do you think there's a correlation between a YouTube content maker suddenly turning on Triple H and with his comments about YouTube content creators? Every show being sold out tells me the supposed fan backlash isn't a ground-based reality. No, I don't. No, I think because if you actually follow, look, I can only speak for myself and to a degree, Larson, Going in Raw, right? The creative hasn't been that good compared to where it was before. So if something gets worse and we call it out for being worse, how is that related to anything Triple H will have said about YouTube content creators or the online space or whatever? I was not affected at all by Triple H stopping the content creator press conferences. I didn't like those in the first place. But when you know why he did what he did, it was because they brought back Brock Lesnar. I don't give a single shit. He can say whatever he wants about content creators. If the creative is awesome, people will forgive everything. If the creative is awesome, if we were getting weekly segments like we had with the Bloodline, where I'm sitting there like, oh my God, I can't wait to tune in next week. If that was happening like it used to, we wouldn't give a shit. Honestly, like this is the brutal reality. I do have ethical problems with the Saudi Arabia deal, but I would probably not speak about that shit as much if the creative was great. And I hate saying that, but like, that's sort of the truth. If they were killing it on the creative level, people wouldn't be speaking up as much about Brock Lesnar, because it's like, well, what you're giving us is so good, kind of makes the other stuff forgettable. And I hate that, but it's the fucking truth. So no, I think if the creative was like outstanding, people are willing to forgive a lot. But it's been very mid, and you can't tell me otherwise. I enjoy Raw in general. I enjoy SmackDown in general, but nothing about it has been like, oh, fuck, I can't wait to see what happens next, which is what we were getting back during the Bloodline stuff. So create something like that. And people, by and large, be cool with it. That's it. That's it. That's the bottom line. Nope. If this shit was awesome, everybody would be saying it's awesome. But week after week, it's like, okay, well, another week of wrestling in the books. Rob Zerver says TKO is trying to stall AEW's momentum by signing deals with almost every domestic media partner and then running their shows against AEW pay-per-views. All in an effort to decrease AEW's value in the eyes of WBD and their remaining competitors, leading to a potential decrease in AEW media rights. This could mean that, yet the wrestlers in both AEW and WWE aren't looking to cultivate bargaining power to protect their already undervalued collective financial worth. Are wrestlers big dollars for not having unionized already? People are afraid to not to keep their jobs, man. When you get those giant paychecks coming in, then you're apt to be, quiet about it. Sarcastic Fanstick says, you're forced to watch one wrestling company for the rest of your life. Which one will it be? It's WWE, of course. Enigma says, most shocking AEW title change, Dustin Rhodes. Hunter Lucas, rank these three matches from Bryan Danielson's retirement match. Bryan versus Starks, Bryan versus Zack Sabre Jr., Bryan versus Swerve. I'm going to say Starks is 1, Swerve is 2, Zack Sabre Jr. is 3. Joe Nero, why is Finger Poke of Doom considered so bad? I didn't really watch WCW. Because I was a huge Wolfpack. I can only speak for myself. I was a huge Wolfpack guy. And then Hollywood Hogan comes back and it's like, oh shit, because he was gone for a while. Damn, how is this going to resolve itself? This is crazy. Kevin Nash is the champion, and they're finally going to do like the big Wolfpack Hollywood Civil War. Like the two main guys are going to go head to head. Is Hogan going to put Nash over? What's going to happen here? And they do that, and it's like, the fuck? That was horrible. I was really looking forward to that match. Let's see here. Jonathan Hernandez says, if you were world champion, would you rather have a world title reign like Roman and Brock where you barely show up and defend your title, or defend it every month? No, I'd be an attraction guy. You got to wait to see me. Karan Live Forever. Would you take a $500,000 to give your Highlander and any other cars you own? If yes, then you and your entire household cannot buy or rent any other vehicles going forwards. Would I take $500,000 to sell my Highlander and I couldn't buy or rent any other vehicles going forwards? How would I get places? No, I wouldn't do that. I don't know. What's like the economic value? Like, is there a loophole? Can I get my kids to drive me? Champ says, if you're to ever retire, would you have a year of retirement content or drop off the face of the earth? Oh, hey, what a good question. Are me and Larson going to go on a retirement run? Yeah, I think we're going to go on a retirement run one day, 20 years from now. Yeah. Hell yeah. Yeah, I would do that. SOTB Tampa. Can I have a Pepsi? I asked my mom for one. She wouldn't give it to me. All I wanted was a Pepsi, just one Pepsi. She wouldn't give it to me. Just a Pepsi. Is that a reference? That's got to be I'm going to look that up really quick. I'm going to look this up. What is this reference here? Stupid Google. Google sucks these days. What is this? Google AI says, unfortunately, look at this. Unfortunately, since your mom already said no, you can't have a Pepsi. It's best to respect her decision, as parents often say no to things out of love and concern for your health and well-being. There you go. There's the answer. If it was a reference, Google AI didn't seem to get it. Dr. Trilogy, will you stream Rocket League? No, because I suck at it, and it's really boring for me to stream that. The Wallinator, on your WrestlePalooza Hot Takes, you asked me to explain myself as to why I thought Cena versus Lesnar was a good match. I left a comment response on that video doing that. Can you take a moment to read it? No. No, I didn't know. I don't look these questions, for the most part, in advance. So I can't now go into that video, look at the... You should have just did the comment here. You should have copied and pasted it here. I'm not going to go look at it. If in the next Ask WrestleJuice, you would like to leave that comment in the context of a question, then yes, I will look at that. Andrew says, Steve, who do you think will win the World Series? Fucking no clue. I don't do baseball at all. Andrew Sharp says, wrestling feels mid right now across both companies because it's continuously the same face in the same spots. Do you concur? Kind of, to a degree. Just not a lot of movement and stories. That's the problem. There's no stories. Quandale says, who would have beat Roman Reigns if not for Cody? Seth. The Codesters, seeing comments of Rio and Ricky St. Starks, how in 2025 we're still using, oh my gosh, we're still using midget comments. Oh, so like you're saying, like it's kind of out of pocket for people to say that stuff, right? Yeah, I don't know. I'm not doing it, man. Don't blame me. Kyle says, why does... You're not supposed to say the midget word here. Kyle says, why does Bret... They like the word, the little people, man. Kyle says, why does Bret Hart still hate Triple H so much? I think it's an act. I kind of feel like it's an act. But also because Triple H, didn't he come up with the idea to strip him, to take that belt off him in a shoot manner? Jack says, why is it seemingly okay to criticize WWE online, but any criticism of AEW online is met with vitriol and attacks? I don't fucking know. I can't speak for the IWC, man. I don't know. Why do you ask me questions asking me why it's okay for other people to do what they do? I don't know. Ask them. Listen, Jack, go find somebody who's making the out-of-pocket comment about WWE and being defensive about AEW and ask them that question. I'm not doing that. The Ben Wardy War Games this year. 1 women and 1 men's 5v5. Who are the participants? What does it got? I think the story between Jay and LA Knight is leading to them teaming up at War Games. So Jay, Jimmy, LA Knight, Punk, Roman against Seth Bronson and 2 other bad guys. Who I can't really think of right now, but 2 other bad guys. You guys decide that one. Nate, who have you been most disappointed in this year? Mine is Bailey. She sucks now. Damn. Hella out of pocket. I love Bailey. I think she's great. Oh, that's it. We saved the most out of pocket for the last. Anyways, what a wild ride that was. Thanks everybody for hanging out. I appreciate it. Do me a favor, go to MF Shop here and buy some of my shit. Till next time, we'll see you guys around.